He is known for being a German-American philosopher, social critic, and political theorist. He is recognized for his criticism of capitalism, modern technology, Soviet communism, and popular culture. He is Herbert Marcuse. Born in Berlin, Herbert Marcuse was a renowned philosopher, social critic, and political theorist. Having studied at the Humboldt University of Berlin and later receiving his PhD from Freiburg, Marcuse became a prominent figure in the Frankfurt School of Critical Theory, a group of intellectuals dedicated to understanding and critiquing the socio-political and cultural conditions of capitalist society. Known for his sharp criticism of capitalism, modern technology, Soviet communism, and popular culture, Marcuse believed that these elements were mere tools of social control. He argued that they hindered individual freedom and perpetuated oppressive systems. In fact, in his book Soviet Marxism, a critical analysis, written during his time working for the Office of Strategic Services, Marcuse highlighted the flaws in the ideology of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. As the 1960s and 1970s dawned, Marcuse became the preeminent theorist of the New Left and the student movements in West Germany, France, and the United States. Some even referred to him as the father of the New Left. His influential works such as Eros and Civilization and One-Dimensional Man garnered worldwide attention, inspiring radical intellectuals and political activists who sought to challenge the oppressive structures of society. Herbert Marcuse's Marxist scholarship left a lasting impact on the intellectual and political landscape of his time. His critiques and theories continue to resonate with those who strive for social justice and liberation from systems of control. Marcuse's story is a compelling narrative of a philosopher whose ideas transcended academia and ignited a movement for change. In the realm of philosophy, Herbert Marcuse was known for his unique perspective on the post-war mass culture and its impact on society. One particular concept that gained notoriety was his theory of repressive desublimation. Marcuse argued that the proliferation of sexual provocations in mass culture served to reinforce political repression. According to him, when people are preoccupied with superficial and inauthentic sexual stimulation, their political energy is diverted and desublimated. Instead of actively working towards positive change in the world, they remain repressed and uncritical. Marcuse's thinking can be seen as an advancement of the concerns raised by earlier liberal critics such as David Reisman. But what sets Marcuse apart is the language he used, drawing comparisons to the criticism of Soviet or Nazi regimes, to describe the developments in the advanced industrial world. He saw a certain, one-dimensional nature of bourgeois life in Europe and America, where individuality and creativity were stifled by a culture of consumerism and conformity. However, what truly made Marcuse's work stand out was his integration of psychoanalytic thought into critical theory. He grounded his analysis of society in a particular understanding of the human psyche. By delving into the unconscious and exploring the inner workings of the mind, Marcuse sought to uncover the ways in which individuals were manipulated and controlled by societal forces. It is in this exploration of the subconscious that Marcuse's philosophy has the potential to help us in our daily lives. By becoming aware of the ways in which we are influenced and directed by the consumerist culture and its superficial distractions, we can reclaim our political energy and break free from the cycle of repression and uncritical thinking. Marcuse's work serves as a reminder to critically examine the messages and values promoted by mass culture, and to strive for authenticity and creative self-expression in an increasingly one-dimensional world. Herbert Marcuse, a prominent philosopher of the 20th century, embarked on a quest to fuse the ideologies of Marxism and Heidegger's fundamental ontology. During his time in Freiburg, Marcuse penned a series of essays that explored this possibility. His pursuit was driven by a desire for what he termed concrete philosophy, which focused on understanding the truth of contemporary human existence. In 1928, Marcuse boldly declared that concrete philosophy concerns itself with the truth of contemporaneous human existence. This was a direct challenge to the prevalent neo-Kantianism of the time, as well as to both the revisionist and orthodox Marxist theories that marginalized the role of individual subjectivity. Marcuse sought to redefine philosophy by acknowledging the significance of the individual within the fabric of society. Although Marcuse initially drew inspiration from Heidegger's work, their association was short-lived. He distanced himself from Heidegger when the latter expressed support for Nazism. Despite this fracture, thinkers like Jürgen Habermas argue that comprehending Marcuse's later ideas necessitates recognizing the influence of his early Heideggerian period. Marcuse's early Heideggerian Marxism serves as a crucial foundation for understanding his later philosophy. By emphasizing the importance of individual subjectivity in existential truth, Marcuse challenged the prevailing ideologies of his time. His insights continue to resonate today, offering a framework for grappling with the complexities of daily life and the pursuit of truth in a rapidly changing world. In the realm of capitalism, Herbert Marcuse was a philosopher who delved into its inner workings and its impact on individuals. Building upon Karl Marx's concept of objectification and alienation under capitalism, Marcuse expanded upon these ideas, shedding light on the dehumanizing effects of the system. He argued that capitalism pushed laborers to the point where they saw themselves as mere extensions of the objects they produced. In his renowned work, One-Dimensional Man, Marcuse observed, the people recognize themselves in their commodities, they find their soul in their automobile, hi-fi set, split-level home, kitchen equipment. This statement captures the essence of his viewpoint. Under capitalism, individuals become extensions of the commodities they consume, and in turn, these commodities become extensions of people's minds and bodies. This phenomenon is further intensified in affluent mass technological societies, which Marcuse believed to be controlled and manipulated. He asserted that in societies based on mass production and distribution, the individual worker turns into a mere consumer, caught up in a commodified way of life. Modern capitalism, according to Marcuse, has manufactured false needs and false consciousness geared towards consuming commodities. This one-dimensional society traps individuals, making them recognize themselves solely through their possessions. Furthermore, Marcuse argued that the mechanism that ties individuals to society has changed, and social control now hinges on the needs manufactured by capitalism. The influence of consumerism has effectively integrated the working class into the capitalist system, eroding its potential as a revolutionary force. Political parties and trade unions have become bureaucratized, and critical thinking has declined. Marcuse also developed a theory over the years, positing that modern technology is inherently repressive. Capitalist and communist societies alike, he believed, employed technology to repress their workers and hinder critical thinking. Technological advances often mask the realities of the system, preventing individuals from questioning their circumstances. Workers, driven by the necessity of meeting their needs, conformed to the system rather than rebelling against it, thwarting the revolution Marcuse believed was necessary. In response to this, Marcuse placed his faith not in the working class but in an alliance between radical intellectuals and marginalized groups. He saw potential for resistance and revolution in those who had not yet been fully integrated into the one-dimensional society, the socially marginalized, the persecuted, and the exploited. These groups, driven by their demand for a better standard of living in opposition to intolerable conditions, possessed revolutionary potential, even if their consciousness had not fully awakened. Marcuse, a prominent figure in the New Left and radical politics, challenged the foundations of capitalist democracies and advocated for a more inclusive and tolerant society. His ideas on tolerance, expressed in his influential essay, Repressive Tolerance, were met with criticism from conservatives who argued that capitalist democracies were not totalitarian. However, Marcuse believed that tolerating repression only perpetuated the marginalization of oppressed voices, and he called for a form of tolerance that opposed repressive political movements. In his analysis, Marcuse saw the tolerance of repressive speech as inauthentic and argued that genuine tolerance required actively opposing and dismantling systems of repression. His views resonated with many radicals and inspired liberation movements, such as the one in Vietnam, as celebrated in his work, An Essay on Liberation, published in 1969. The idea that liberation from oppressive systems was essential became a rallying cry for activists influenced by Marcuse's philosophy. Despite facing criticism and opposition, Marcuse continued to advocate for his radical ideas throughout his life. In his 1972 book, Counter-Revolution and Revolt, he warned that the hopes of the 1960s were facing a counter-revolution from the right. This work revealed his concerns about the conservative backlash to progressive social and political movements. After facing opposition and controversy, Marcuse found a home at the University of California, San Diego. Despite allegations that he openly advocated violence, Marcuse clarified that he only supported violence of defense, not aggression. His dedication to teaching, writing, and lecturing around the world kept his ideas alive and spread by his students. One of his final works, The Aesthetic Dimension, published in 1979, explored the role of art in the process of emancipation from bourgeois society. Marcuse's philosophy and views on radical politics and repressive tolerance continue to offer valuable insights for our daily lives. His call to actively challenge and dismantle oppressive systems inspires us to be agents of change. We can strive for a more inclusive and tolerant society by opposing repressive political movements, amplifying marginalized voices, and supporting liberation movements that seek to free individuals from oppressive systems. Marcuse, a prominent philosopher known for his radical views, had a unique perspective on societal reform. He believed that true change could be found among the outcasts of society, which led him to support various movements, including feminism. His interest in feminism grew towards the end of his life, as he explained in a public lecture titled Marxism and Feminism in 1974. In his work, Marcuse explored themes and ambitions that found embodiment in socialist feminism. He believed that true transformation went beyond just changing the power dynamics in society, it also required a shift in the instinctual desires of individuals. While he acknowledged the importance of women's participation in the labor force as a step towards liberation, he did not consider it sufficient for attaining true freedom. Instead, he hoped for a moral shift away from aggressive and masculine qualities towards feminine qualities. However, Marcuse's reliance on Freud's drive theory as the source of the desire for societal change faced criticism from philosophers Jessica Benjamin and Nancy Chodorow. They argued that Marcuse's approach failed to account for the individual's intersubjective growth, highlighting its limitations. On the other hand, philosopher Nina Poward defended Marcuse against accusations of gender essentialism, recognizing the complexity of his ideas. Additionally, Margaret Cerullo expressed caution about the eroticization of female intellect, urging a careful examination of how feminism is approached.
Do you want to explore more philosophers? Who do you want to see featured next? Subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know. I'll see you in the next video.